This is Bob Ambrogi, and today's press briefing is with the company Case Status, and I'm here with its founder and CEO, Andy Seavers, is going to tell us all about it. Andy, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Haven't seen you since your conference, which was a lot of fun. I was glad to be able to attend that. I hope you had a good reaction to that. I'm sure you did.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to have people in our hometown in Charleston, um, and yeah, just we've got a unique community that folks who really put the client first, and it was great to get them together at the first inaugural CX summit. So to have you there was great, and we're looking forward to the next one in the fall, which we'll announce the dates for that uh, in short order.
Sounds good. Well, why don't we start with just an overview? Tell us about Case Status, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started almost 8 years ago now. Really, my co founder, plaintiff attorney, and clients demand really expectations have changed and they demand to know what's going on in their case. And this is one of the few industries that requires a phone call and email to make that happen. Well, we really built case status around kind of when we started, we were the Domino's pizza tracker for your legal case. So this starting idea of if you can keep clients updated and really give them visibility into the process and what to expect, that you build deeper trust and really long term provide the best client experience. And so what started there has now grown into a full client engagement platform that integrates with case management, automates communication. And then we are one of the few, maybe the only person in the space that really is completely focused on how do we use AI to provide the best client experience. I think that's a little bit of what I'm here to show you today.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more about just who your customer base is. What kind of firms do you work with mostly?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are typically talking to mid to large consumer based law firms. Personal injury is our biggest practice area on the platform, although everything from immigration is the fastest growing, workers' compensation and social security disability are close in that injury tort space. And then even estate, criminal bankruptcy, we have a number of customers there. But I say mid to large, every day we close deals, new law firms that are just forming that want to provide a great experience, or firms that are just getting to a point where they're ready to scale more efficiently and support clients. And really, what our view, the way that they ought to be cared for, and we give law firms the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, do you want to just dive in and start to tell us about it, or is there anything
Let's
else you
do
want
it.
people to know before we do that? Yeah, okay, let's
No,
do
let's
that.
do it. There's it's funny. I was prepping this beforehand, and I remember the days 6, 7 years ago when I ran every demo, and when I would implement customers, and when I would get involved in the product, and it's fun to do this every once in a while. I do it maybe once a year, so I think we're just getting it in right before the end, where I'm getting to demonstrate the product, which I still to this day am very very proud of, even if I don't get to demonstrate it as much as I used to. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Kind of start off, let me explain to you what I'm showing today. So on the left side here, this is my actual live phone. So hopefully no embarrassing text messages come through, but it's a screen share. And we've always demonstrated the product like this because our view is that if we can't show the product live, then how can we expect clients to be able to engage with it? And today we have about 1 million clients on the mobile app, which is that is how many clients are getting updates on their case and are getting a great client experience.
And the view that we're seeing on the phone is the lawyer's phone or the client's phone?
This is the view that a client would see when they access the case status mobile app. We then here in the middle, we have the web application. So when a law firm decides to log in to the full version of case status, this is where they can engage with their case as a staff member or as an attorney. And then what I'm showing over here, which we'll get to, is our Chrome extension. And so this actually allows you to use case status from within any case management tool or CRM that you use today. And so based on the case you're on, the case over here will load up automatically. And so it's one of the reasons that we've been so successful is we've made it really easy for law firms to transition to really providing this type of client experience. It's built into the workflow that they're used to. And so based on the staff member's role, they will engage with the case in the way that they always do. So if they're in Salesforce or Litify, that they can use case status from within a matter, or if you're in Clio, you can use it here on the right within the case management tool. Just makes it really easy to train and onboard. the clients that we work with. And so let me start by diving in, and please feel free to interrupt me at any point. When I think about, I like these to typically be interactive. When a client first accesses the mobile app, they do that through a text message. It comes to their cell phone. They click on the link and they download the case status app, and then they put in a pin and they're in. And so one of the things that we've made it really easy for clients to access the app, it's it's an Uber or Venmo like experience where it has to be seamless. But I think one of the things that we do that's unique, where a lot of these client portals that exist with the case management tools they don't focus on, is those are chat platforms that are really designed for the law firm. We really started focusing on the client and delivering what the client cares about. And by doing that, then we can deliver all the value that our platform does in the case status mobile app. So today, typical law firm will see about 80% client adoption to the mobile app. And then the other 20% of clients will engage via text or the web. And there's, of course, overlap. But we typically see full client adoption across those three platforms, which is great. You need a central place where your clients want to engage with the case stat with your law firm in general. But the mobile app is going to be the strongest conduit for building trust. So when a client is able to log in, they see a firm branded app, they can see their team, who they work with today, maybe a bio or a photo. And then ultimately, they could engage in the questions that they have today. They might be wondering, what's the status of my case? Well, that's going to be the first thing they see, where they can understand, okay, we're in attorney review. What does that mean? We can link videos, frequently asked questions. We do all sorts of things that are ultimately designed to give the client visibility into what's happening in their case. But it doesn't stop there. We want to help the client know what's to come. So you can see a roadmap throughout the case process. A lot of times we'll see managing partners or even just staff members do videos that help the client engage with maybe something that's happening within that phase. And ultimately, these things answer the client's questions before they reach out. So when we first started this, at the base level, the problem was clients call too much, which the real root of that is I don't have the process support or technology to support the client's expectations in the way that they want to engage with my law firm. And so we've now unlocked a way for the client to engage with the law firm without taking staff time. And so it makes law firms a lot more effective. Most of our firms are handling clients with a third of the number of resources. And so, from a headcount standpoint, they become a lot more effective. But then they also actually, we have some quantifiable metrics that I'll talk about that ultimately help drive the success of the law firm long term.
That's the whole pizza analogy, pizza tracker analogy right there, right? It's in the oven right now.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so you can, the app goes into a lot of other things such as communication, becomes a central place of all the updates that have happened within the case in the past, appointments. And if it's treatment related, there can actually be treatment tracking where can be an audit trail of where clients are going, and can help with medical chronology and all sorts of things that ultimately help build the case better. We, some of the things that I love are one of the law firms that we've worked with for a while now, DePasquale Moore. They're a big firm in Kansas City. They have a data scientist on staff, and they've identified that when clients use case status versus not, they have 8% higher fees. They have 65-day faster resolutions. Their net promoter score is a 60 versus the industry average of a 25. And what I know to be true is in consumer-based law, most law firms have a net promoter score that's closer to 0. And they can now measure their response time. They actually can confirm that they get back to every client. Today, I ask a law firm, is it unethical to not get back to clients? They say, absolutely. Say, okay, do your staff members ever not get back? Are they ever not able to get back to clients? And they know the answer. It's all the time, yes. But they're even maybe afraid to answer because, that'd be revealing that maybe they're not meeting their ethical duty of care. So this unlocks their ability to really measure communication, measure response time, measure satisfaction, and all these things together help build both the best law firm, but also the best experience for the client. And what we now know is it actually, in pre-lit specifically, produces higher fees within the law firm. So if a client knew they could have higher fees, better experience, faster cases, and you as a law firm chose not to provide something like case status, I mean, that's, it actually brings, again, another ethical conundrum in, which is your ethical duty of care because technology like case status exists. Is it your ethical duty of care to deliver that level of service? And our view is yes. And the CX Summit, that was the conversation, which is an overwhelming yes from our customer base.
There was one lawyer I heard talk at the CX Summit who said that her firm will not take a client who will not be willing to use the case status app.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the law firm's job so much easier. It makes them more effective because they can focus on the work that matters. And it gives, I mean, it is really better for the client. We think about online banking, we give this example a lot, but if your bank said, hey, we're not going to give you online banking, you can just call or email us. That would be a crazy assertion. Online banking is the minimum that we expect, not because we want to call or email our bank. We want to, the bank demonstrates that they can handle our money on our phone. And so this trust building this is the first line of trust building. And it makes their job so much easier when the client truly trusts that they have their best interests at heart, that they know this process. And there's a lot of information on the mobile app that is designed to help the client. So today, 93% of clients who open the case status mobile app find what they need and put it back down. Otherwise, they would call, email, or be frustrated, probably all three. Again, if we're not giving clients these tools, we're kind of taking advantage of them because they don't know any better. They don't know that they could have this experience. A lot of times they just hire a law firm based on a recommendation from a friend or from a Google review or a billboard. But ultimately, clients at some point we believe will demand this, but it is our obligation to give them this level of service if it's possible. With 1 million clients on the platform, our company is now really in a focused push to 10 million. And we think that that will create a significant movement in the legal industry that of, client awareness that says we deserve the client experience that is going to give us, true access to justice. We believe access on your phone is the starting point. So as we jump then into the case status web application, which is for the staff members, we have a number of tools here that I'm not going to be able to get into fully today. But when you navigate into case status, you're going to have be able to see checklist items, the phase of the case, and what's really important is you're going to be able to see access and that how many times the client is actually accessing the mobile app. One of the things that we've noticed with the client portals that exist and the competitors that we have in the space is they keep all of this hidden. They don't want you to know that the clients aren't actually adopting their platforms. And for us, if clients aren't on the mobile app, they aren't accessing it via web or at least engaging with your texts, then we're failing. And we want to make sure that you know that this is, there is work at play here behind the scenes that you might not see. And so, what a great reaction when a staff member of a law firm shows up and says, "Oh, Leah Johnson checked her status today. I have a net promoter score from her that says she's satisfied with her case, and I don't have to do anything. Wow, that's amazing. What a great thing." Before, if the client couldn't see the law firm, they would think, "Oh, they're not working on my case," so they call. And then
Mhm.
now the clients are engaged. Well, if the law firm can't see that the client is there, then they're going to actually reach out too. So it's this confirmation loop that's really, really important.
And this
We
activity
have
feed is not just when the client has initiated a contact with the firm, but simply just checked in the app to see what's going.
Exactly right. This is the essentially nonverbal communication. We then can go in and look at, we can send a message. We have real time translation. So the mobile app will load up in over 300 languages, and you can actually have real time conversation with the client and translate. So if I write something like, um, hello, how are you? We can set a translation language. Let's just say Albanian. That sounds good. And save. So now we can translate to Albanian and we can see the translated, and then we can send that translation. And then ultimately that will show up in the mobile app, and I can still see the original content. And then we can track that clients are actually getting that they're seeing your communication that you're sending, and when you can, we have error tracking in case things fail, or sometimes phone numbers change or get blocked or things like that. So we give you a lot of controls. We've been doing this long enough now to know how important all of these extra little things are. These are the things that, most people from the outside say, "Oh, this is just a client portal." It's like, look, the client portal is the starting point. It's the conduit for all the rest of the things we're going to do. And making sure that a communication sent is just as important as knowing the client is actually accessing their case. Just gonna pause real quick and we can cut this out. Can you hear that drilling in the background?
I can. It's very, very light though. Again, I think we can clean that all up. Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure it wasn't too loud. Looks like they may actually just be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'll jump back in. So we give the law firm a number of other tools. So AI summary is a big piece of this. So if you're maybe a manager trying to come in and see what's happening with the case, or maybe you're filling in for a staff member who's just left, you can generate a summary, which is actually going to break down satisfaction. It's going to break down an overview of what's happened. It's going to look at outstanding questions and follow up items. It's going to do all sorts of things to really help you make sure that you are up to speed with what's happening in this case. This case doesn't have a feedback score left right now. I actually could probably do this real quick. Let's see if it will let me open the app. Kind of bouncing on my phone. Let me just pause real quick. Back and forth. If you have to not have it turned on your phone. Okay, there we go. So when you update the status of the case, we have a number of configurations that allow you to ask for a net promoter score. And we really encourage net promoter score being asked throughout the entire case process. Nothing's worse than a staff member finding out that a negative Google review was left. Instead, how about we ask the client for feedback early? So one, it teaches them that you actually care about their feedback. And then two, it becomes a red, yellow, green of how are we doing throughout the case process. And then in aggregate for the whole firm, we get to see where might our process or team members need our process be broken, our team members need trained more effectively. And it can just be a really powerful tool to help you elevate your client experience. And so our customers have an average net promoter score that is about a 70 compared to the industry average of from that Clio states is a 25. That again is it's quantifiably better client experience. We actually and often require the score to be left. You can see here I can't skip it. That can be configured. But what that does is it actually might push the score a little bit lower, yet it's still a 70 because clients do want to have an avenue to share how they're feeling. And so I can leave a 9, I can leave some optional feedback. And that's ultimately going to give the law firm an opportunity to engage with that client and see if there are ways that they can do better.
I would think that activity feed could also be kind of a red flag. I mean, if you see that the client is not checking into the app at all, not engaging with the app, then I would imagine at some firms they might think, well, maybe we want to reach out to the client and see what's going on. Is there an issue or something?
Exactly right. I mean, sometimes the first invite might have been sent when they were at work, blue collar job, can't stop what they're doing to download the app. And a lot of times it's just a reminder, hey, just saw you haven't logged in yet. There's a lot of great information in here for you. And they go, oh man, thank you so much. And they engage and you can see that they've engaged. And then over time we can see how satisfaction has increased or decreased throughout the life cycle of the case, which can just be so important. One of the things that we get really excited about is we are about to launch what we are calling the CX index, the client experience index. We've started to uncover that there are lots of pieces of client experience that aren't captured within Net Promoter Score. There's another stat called CSAT, which we are incorporating into the platform. But more than that, when you have a conversation with somebody on the phone and they cuss you out, you don't end that conversation with, hey, 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer me to a friend or colleague? You already have an idea. They're probably upset. I have some cleanup to do. And so, what we are starting to do is with the CX index is a real time pulse check on the communication and the client experience that's happening. In fact, we have an old school ML model. This is, built on, trained on Net Promoter Score data and just the 8 years of what we've been doing to be able to start to now predict sentiment. So we can actually get ahead of when the client is actually going to be upset based on activity in the app, communication style, trends in case relative to that firm. If they're not great in stage 2, where we see drop off and the client it has some of the same trends that are starting to go that direction, we help the law firm get ahead of it. And so that is all part of client intelligence, which is our data and AI platform. It's really what powers unlocking the knowledge that exists within your law firm today and helping prioritize what's important. And so that really transitions to our newest feature, So we released Triage at our conference in September, and Triage is our prioritization engine, which is powered by AI. And so what it does is it starts to look at what needs to be done next. Who is walking around the courthouse looking for the front door, or is going to miss a deadline, or is frustrated and is about to leave a negative, review, or maybe go to the bar, or just is upset and we need to prioritize. And so the our AI engine prioritizes this list and allows you to really identify case blockers that exist. We can ultimately see, okay, this case blocker is a data related, verifying a client's phone number, and there's an unanswered message within this case. We can mark those things as resolved, or we can dive into those cases. And again, this lives all within this view can be used from the case management tool. And then we can respond to a request, generate some responses, and use some different AI tools. But it's just a simple way to start thinking about, how do I make sure nothing falls through the cracks and I prioritize what needs to be prioritized next.
And who's seeing that within the firm? Is that universal to the firm, or is it depend on who's assigned to that particular? I mean, do the matters that show up relate to who, what attorney you are or what administrator you are, or is it all
Yep.
kind of universal?
Yep. So the model has been fully trained on who should be assigned that this specific task. It might be multiple people. There might be multiple assignees linked to this case. As you reassign, it gets trained and learns on that. You might decide, oh, this isn't as valuable, so I'm going to snooze this request for 3 days. That's going to start to uncover what is less of a priority. We've got essentially a lot of different tools that ultimately, our goal is that every task gets assigned to the right person and the right priority. And as we know, it's AI, it's not always perfect, but the feedback that we've gotten is that the model is strong and it continues to be personalized very quickly based on your law firm. And so as we think about then, the future of case status, I'll talk about, there's a lot that I could show that zeroes in on, everything from sharing the status of a case with a third party, like a referring attorney, or diving into some of the tools around treatment tracking, or even firm insights. We just get really excited about where the platform is starting to go. And so the future of case status is really in, how do we maximize both the client experience and the efficiency of the law firm that we know ultimately drives growth and profitability in the law firm. What we think a lot of the AI companies in the space miss today is they're very focused on, how do we just completely replace jobs that are happening? How do we completely replace the person to make the people really effective, but ultimately try and automate all of the things that the staff is doing today? We believe that there is a line where you cannot automate out a relationship with a client. They deserve to have a person who owns their case, who cares for them, who walks them through this tough time. A lot of times early on in case status, we would get feedback like, well, isn't this a less personal experience? And we say, no. Like, when they can't sleep and it's midnight and they're able to open up the app and have comfort about what's happening and go back to sleep, that is a great feeling. It's also a great feeling when they engage with the staff and they respond quickly. And today, at a lot of law firms, neither of those things happen. You have clients who can't sleep because they don't know what's happening. And when they call in, they get routed or ignored. And what's going to make that relationship even worse? A robot on the other end that says, press two, to leave a recording about your case. It's like talking to an AI bot about a very traumatic, maybe the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in their life. I mean, a person should be there. Really, a client deserves that. And we believe that we're in a sweet spot to be able to unlock that. And so the way we look at our platform in the future, it's really as a system of action for caring for clients. And so we say system of action is a new term for a lot of people, but it's replacing this idea of system of record. Historically, case management tools have been a system of record. They are all transitioning to a system of action for back office tasks. We are transitioning to a system of action for front office tasks. Our opportunity is, how do I identify the workflows and the tasks and the things that law firms have to do today? And our data and AI model can help replace those augment them, but ultimately, like Triage, this is not replacing the communication. This is essentially superpowering the team to be able to have effective prioritization and oversight. Now we
Hmm.
do a lot of things such as we have a solution called recommended response, which we pre-draft communication to the client. But we do not send that without oversight. We believe that ethical communication requires an attorney or a qualified staff member, depending on the communication, to have oversight in that communication. But what we're starting to see today is 40% of the communication sent on the case status platform is communication that we've now pre-drafted for the staff members, and 99% sent unedited, because these models become so strong and they start to become so personal to the law firm that the feedback we're getting from our customers is the recommended responses are better than I would have drafted. They they're more comprehensive, it's more empathetic, it's not as rushed. This is a much better response than I would have said, just, "Okay, no problem, thanks," and would have hit send. And so that's what, and we think this is just the starting point. We're gonna continue to see this, continue to grow and change over time.
The responses are configured to tailored to the question that's being asked, though. Is that right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So on my phone, on the left side here, I just asked the question, "What is happening in my case?" And we've now recommended responses, response back with different categories. I can give, concise negotiation update. Your case is currently in the negotiation stage. I can see more of what's written, something more comprehensive. Maybe I decide, you know what, I like this longer response. I'm going to start with this, but I want it to be a little bit more friendly sounding. So I'm going to, use some of the tools to redraft this and make it a little bit more friendly in the response. And so, great, your case is now in the negotiation phase. We have sent the demand package to the insurance company, and usually it takes about 4 to 5 weeks to hear back from them. So this is based off of the answers that have been given in the past, based on the data that we helped the law firm uncover, which is how long does it usually take to hear back, so that we can actually set some right expectations and just, let them know we'll keep you updated every step of the way. So I can send that, to my phone and get notified, and ultimately, again, just continue to track what is happening in my case. So there are a number of other things, again, that I could ultimately show within the platform, but I think today, from a high level, we just wanted to talk about where we're going from the client intelligence standpoint in a show. I think sometimes it's just helpful to talk through some of these pieces and why we've come at things this way. But our team is very well equipped to dive in and showcase status within your context, show it within a case management tool that you have based on your practice area, and show how we have many use cases of law firms doing this very effectively. I mean, I hear it all the time. They go, "Oh, well, I've had a plaintiff firm say, oh man, this would be great for immigration,' or immigration say, oh, this would be great for personal injury. I've had a small firm say, oh, this would be great for a big firm, and I've had a big firm say, this would be great for a small firm." The reality is we have all of them across the board, and it is all customized and personalized based on the way that your law firm handles cases. And we also are long-term partners with the people that we work with. We don't just help set it up and, all right, like, we'll never see you again. We partner with a very sophisticated implementation team. We've got Salesforce experts, if you have that. We have people that know all the practice areas, all the case management tools. And then once you're fully live, our client success team is really designed to be a consultant to help you refine and improve and grow over time. We believe adoption and then, utilization of our features is just the starting point. From there, we can start to turn the dial and say, here's how we can improve your response time with less people. Here's how we can increase client satisfaction and drive Google reviews at the right point. I mean, we have automation built in to be able to queue off of stage changes or timing in the platform. If nothing's happened in the case for 30 days, it can automatically send that communication. Soon we will start ingesting phone calls and emails into the platform and use that data to start to uncover how often a client is likely to call within your firm if they don't use the app versus when they do. All of these things are what our client success team are trained on helping the law firm refine. And so we get really, when law firms really engage with us, it allows us all to be highly successful together. And It's why our customers have been such strong partners to our organization and vice versa, and why we talked about at the beginning the CX Summit, why we love to bring everybody together so that they can all
Yeah.
collaborate.
I have a very basic question for you, which is how does case status know the case status?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a whole mapping solution that is powered by AI. What we do is when we integrate with your case management tool, we will recommend essentially 5 to 12 stages based on your configuration on how you ought to update the client. So firms will say, I don't want them to have access to everything in the case. And they don't. This is structured visibility into the things that matter to the client, not what the law firm thinks that matters. And so, but what our configuration tool does is it identifies what we can map to. And so a very simple example is within Litify, there is a matter plan. It is typically 5 or 6 stages. And at a base level, we can map to that matter plan. But someone might say, well, I want to map off of this checklist item being completed. I want to map off of this other item being submitted. And here are the things that I don't need a status update of, but I do want to automate some of that communication. So all those things can be configured, and we typically recommend let's get you to a starting point to get clients on, get the law firm seeing the value and getting clients satisfaction up. And then let's start to make those refinements and find out, okay, where are you losing time and where can we be more effective?
So once that mapping has been set up with the law firm, then the case status tracking becomes fairly automatic.
Exactly right. Yep. For a lot of firms, they think that case status is just an extension of their case management tool, and clients are getting proactive updates. They're tracking the process throughout, and they can see visibility into the future. And then from there, we've had this happen in the past. It doesn't really happen much anymore because we give visibility. But a law firm once said to me, they're like, Andy, I just don't think we need case status anymore. Clients don't call. And you check a little bit. That is ultimately what we've created in that firm. They forget what life was prior to case status, where clients were unsatisfied, where they had to call and email all the time. Now clients are satisfied. They're not as busy. They can maximize the utilization of their team across the board. And a lot of times they don't even realize. I think the biggest impact case status has is on the top of funnel growth for these firms. They misunderstand how important local reputation is, and when their reputation is, maybe 50% of clients, if you have a 25 net promoter score, that typically means at least 50% of your clients are not promoters at your law firm. And that's terrible. That's pulling away a huge opportunity to drive you business, especially if you've been around for a long time. And so when we move that number up to like what our firm see, which is a 70, I mean, typically that means up to like 80% of your clients are promoters. I mean, that's a huge difference. And that just means they are out talking about you. They're reinforcing your billboards. They're reinforcing the Google reviews. I mean, Hockey is a customer that we've had for a long time. They went from 400 over 3,000 Google reviews in a couple of years, and that's not uncommon because who's satisfied. You can request a review or referral, and who's unsatisfied. You can care for them better, and that alone just has such a huge impact on the firm.
Yeah, there is no greater, more important factor in the attorney-client relationship than communication, and tool like this is really great.
Well, it's amazing that it's the number one state bar complaint is lack of attorney communication. Yet the
Right.
bar has still done little to mandate
Yeah.
an elevation of communication. Our objective is, if any bar associations are listening to this, please talk to us because we want to partner together and we want to get the word out about there is a new standard of care that exists in legal. I mean, we have Amazon on our phone, we have our medical portals, we have Domino's Pizza Track, whatever it is. We have these things that are on our phone that are really important to us. Yet, one of the most important things in their lives, they're going to have to, just sit back and wait and wonder what's happening, especially in these cases that can take a long time. I mean, we've even given the solution away to Charleston Legal Access here. And there's a clinic. Alabama Law School uses it in their clinic. I mean, it's a hard thing for us to go out and scale, but we're like, let's just, we'll give the platform away to people who are, if they're not getting paid, we don't need to get paid either. And we want to just have impact on the greater client community.
Yeah. Well, I think attorneys sometimes forget that even when there's nothing to report, there's something to report, which is there's nothing to report. I mean, clients just want to know that you haven't forgotten about them and that their case has not been forgotten. That maybe there's a period of inactivity, but that happens. But they want to know what's going on, even if it's nothing going on, as ludicrous as that sounds. And I mean, that's one of the first things I learned way back when I used to practice law more than I do now. Really important.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this is a less of a product feature, although it is tangential. We are seeing something really unique happening at Case Status now, which is clients are now starting to come to the Case Status mobile app looking for attorneys, looking for a lawyer to help with their legal case. It was not something we intended to happen, but about a year ago, we opened up the app to be able to collect those leads. And over the course of the last year, we've seen that grow substantially without doing any marketing. So for when I was at our conference in September, I talked about in August, we had 4,000 clients come and request essentially a law firm, help with their case, visibility into their matter. Some of those people are looking for their USCIS, so sometimes there's some confusion there. In November, that number was 11,000. So we launched at our conference what we call the Statusphere, which is our community of law firms who care for clients. And it unlocks the ability not only for law firm customers to share leads through whatever platforms they use. We help connect them, but they can use whatever referral platform that they use to track those leads. But they can more easily find each other and know that the status can be shared back. That's operationally easier to track. They know clients are going to get an elevated experience. Well, we're now taking our leads and we're routing those leads directly into the Statusphere as well. We all win in that scenario. Their law firms grow, the clients who are coming to us get the best law firms, and we all get to, we kind of forge a new path and the kind of future of what we see client experience looking like.
It makes a lot of sense. Well, Andy, thanks so much for showing us case status and everything you've developed here. It's really impressive.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you having me. And as always, come to our website. There's a lot more information there. Reach out to me, or we have we're unique. We have most of our people here in office, and so I get to look down and see. Got a pretty big team that just is really mission driven and cares about transforming the legal industry. So, be happy to help anyone who wants to come on this path with us.
Great. And lots of information at your website also, I know, and demos and other information there for people who want to learn more. Andy, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.